Hey friends, Dave here with Stahls. One of the questions I've heard more times than not in the past 15 years here in the apparel printing industry is, how much should I charge for this job? So today, we're going to break it all down for you, whether you are running a side hustle out of your garage, maybe just getting your first heat press, or maybe you've been screen printing for years. By the end of this video, you'll know exactly how to price any order, so you could cover your costs, make a profit, and still stay competitive in the market. Now, this isn't going to be vague theory or any guesswork here. We are talking step by step with real numbers, examples decorators are charging right now, and the key things that you need to think about before even starting to quote your next job. And honestly, this video might be the most important one you watch if you're serious about growing your business. So grab a notepad because we're about to dig in with 6 steps to follow so you'll always be confident in your pricing. Ready? Let's roll. Starting off here with step number 1, we want to make sure we know our costs. Now, the first mistake that most people make here is only charging for the blank shirt plus the transfer or ink. That's it, right? You're probably like, I'm never going to do that, right? Or maybe you're like me and being like, well, I've done that before. But if you only think about your material cost, you are setting yourself up to barely break even. At best, you're probably going to lose money. So here's what you actually need to factor in when you're calculating your costs. Number 1, the cost of the blank apparel, right? So what does the shirt cost? Number 2, the decoration cost. So whether it's a screen print transfer, DTF, Ultra Color Max, right? Vinyl, embroidery, screen printed ink, whatever it may be, you need a cost of that decoration. Number 3, labor. I'm not going to be the first one to tell you this, but I want to drive it home. Your time matters. Pay yourself. Whether it's you or an employee, figure at least $15 to $20 an hour as a baseline, right? You could always go higher than that. You should. You're totally worth it. But the last one here that we need to talk about is overhead. So electric, rent, equipment, payments, software, packaging supplies, shipping. Even if you're at home, you've probably still got an electric bill, wear and tear on your equipment, subscription services, and your internet costs or website hosting costs, right? Loop them in here. And of course, how could we forget? We should probably account for waste and misprints too. So we're going to build in a small little buffer because even with 15 years in the industry, mistakes sure still happen. But here's a simple formula that a lot of decorators use right off the top. You take the cost of goods plus your labor plus your overhead, and that's going to be your baseline cost, right? So that's going to ensure that at least you're probably covering every single one of your costs and you're not losing money on each order. But from there, you add in your profit margin. Now, if you don't know your baseline cost, you're just straight up guessing, and guessing is going to lead to undercharging, and of course, like I mentioned, you're probably going to lose money, which is not good, right? We're here to make money, right? But before we move on, I do want to talk a little quickly here about overhead costs, because this is, in some cases, the most important piece, and most people skip it. Like I mentioned earlier, overhead is everything it takes to keep your business running that isn't the blank shirt or the cost of the print or the cost of you, the labor or an employee, right? But the good news here is that you don't need to overcomplicate this at all. Here's a simple method that I've heard decorators use with great success. First, add up your average monthly business expenses. So just real simply here, let's say $600 rent, $150 in utilities, $100 in software, $150 in packaging supplies, and maybe some other subscriptions, right? That's going to put us at $1,000 a month in that cost. Now, number 2, we figure out how many items we typically sell in a month. Now, I like this because it sets out an operations goal for you that you could target, right? So for our example here today, let's just say 500 shirts per month, right? Now, you could also use your own data to find this, so you're not just guessing or shooting in the dark. How many shirts did you print last month? Use that number, right? Now we're going to divide all of our expenses by the number of shirts, so $1,000 divided by 500 shirts a month is $2 a shirt. So that means every single shirt we sell should have $2 of overhead baked into the cost of the shirt. So when you're building your price, just tack that $2 onto that baseline cost. Now, even if you don't know exact numbers yet, it's okay to use an estimate here. Now, if you're running from home, maybe it's only 50 cents to $1 that you're tacking onto every item. If you're in a shop with employees and expensive rent, it might be $2 to $3 per item there too. So the key is to include something. Now, of course, you can make a percentage, but these hidden costs start to add up quite fast. And if you ignore them and don't factor them at all in your pricing, they're going to eat away your profits without you ever realizing it. Now, believe me, I've been there, right? I don't want you to make that same mistake that I made. But next up, step 2, decide your profit margin. Now, how much profit should you actually build in? Now, most shops aim for a 50% gross margin or higher. That's a nice ballpark to be in, but not realistic sometimes in certain cases. So don't take that 50% as, this is a hard and fast rule. Try to be around that 50%. Greater if you're higher, right? But now this means that if it costs you to make $6 a shirt, you're not selling it for anything less than $12. Now, on average, decorators charge $12 to $15 a shirt for, say, those smaller bulk orders up to 50, maybe 100 pieces, depending on the art, depending on the print locations, right? There's all of these variables that come into play. Maybe that steps up to an 18 to 25 for those smaller runs, right? When you're talking maybe 10, 24 pieces, and then $25 for one-offs or custom fashion style tees, right? So that's even if you go online and look to just get one t-shirt printed from an Etsy shop or a major retailer, you're probably not paying less than $20 to $25 for that, right? And getting local service where then it's going to be a faster turn time, or you could maybe even turn it today or tomorrow, right? Is going to be the benefits that are going to justify a 25 plus cost to your customer. Now, of course, hoodies, jackets, hats can totally command way more than that. I'm talking about basic tees in that scenario. Hoodies often sell at $35 to $60, right? Even at retail, I've seen hoodies up to $95 now, right? And premium items, even higher than that, especially when you talk about those brands that everybody wants. The Nike, the Adidas, Eddie Bauer, the Columbia, the Carhartt, right? Now, the internet is also full of decorators saying the same exact thing when we talk about our pricing, right? And maybe you've heard me mention the cost times 2 pricing model, but if you're only doubling that material cost, you're likely leaving some money on the table. Now, it's great to get started with, but if you want to be serious about growing your business, it's going to be serious about calculating your costs. So customers aren't just buying a shirt, right? Like I mentioned, they're buying your service, your speed, your creativity, and the fact that they don't have to figure out all of this by themselves. So on to step 3, we want to understand the market. So pricing isn't all just about math, it's about how you're positioning your services. So look what your competitors in the area are charging. You could just Google custom t-shirts and get some quotes. There's going to be some websites that pay to be that first one to show up on Google, right? So maybe you're going to want to be under their cost right on that one. But it's a great ballpark, and that website, I'm not going to mention any names, usually is a little bit higher. So a lot of decorators love it because their customers are going to search custom t-shirts, get a quote, and it's going to be higher than yours, winning you the job, right? But you could also check Etsy and any of those online marketplaces, the online custom tee sites where it is not a company, but an individual may be selling it. Many sell at that $25 to $30 a shirt for single pieces that have customization on it, right? And when you look at maybe a local screen printing shop near you, those local shops often have a setup fee anywhere between $25 or more for, say, bulk screen printing or maybe even embroidery on that too, right? Now, if you are way under the market cost, you're really not impressing anybody. You're kind of signaling to most customers that you're the cheap option, which if they're looking for quality, they're just going to pass you over, right? If you're way over on that price in the competitive market space, you're going to price yourself out of a job unless you build serious value in your services. Maybe they don't have a design and you are going to design for free, right? You're building value that's going to justify being over that market rate. But you need to know the range, so then you place yourself strategically right inside that window. Step number 4 here for pricing is we're going to factor in quantity breaks, right? Not all orders, not all quantities should be priced the same, and there's a pretty simple way to tier pricing, right? You figure it out for yourself what makes sense for your customers, right? Because if you're working for, hospitality management services or like hospitals or huge corporations, they're going to always be buying larger quantities than single 1s and 2s, right? Now, if you're dealing with local landscaping companies that only employ 6 people, they're probably going to be ordering 6 or 12 shirts with every run, right? But here's a simple way to do that tier pricing. 1 to 12 pieces, high margin, charge a premium. 13 maybe to that 48, maybe 60 some quantity pieces. This is going to be your mid-level pricing with a slight discount for that bulk order. And say 50, 60, 72 pieces and up, that's going to be where your bulk pricing is. You're going to have a thinner margin per shirt, but with more shirts, you're going to have more total profit at the end of the day. Now, why? Because your setup time is spread out, right? Getting everything out of the box, onto the heat press, staged up, right? Maybe if you're screen printing, getting the screens burned and everything like that, right? But when your setup time is spread out, printing 100 shirts isn't 100 times harder at all, right? It's just more press time. So you reward those larger orders with slightly better pricing, but you're never gonna give away the farm. Please, you're still worth it. You still need to be making profit. And sometimes when you discount too much at bulk quantities, it doesn't make sense for you and your shop. And if you're not set up for huge bulk printing, it's okay to go get a quote from somebody or use a service like Stahls Fulfill Engine, where essentially you could outsource those bulk orders at a bulk rate. And you don't have to worry about tying up 2 whole days of production to get that order out of the shop without saying no, right? So there's all of these benefits in there. But screen print transfers, say patches and emblems, and even Ultra Color Max at Stahls have quantity discounts too. So you're going to see the costs drop with those larger orders, which is going to help you kind of figure out a lot of that pricing and how much you could discount it. Now, you could also tack on things like Easy Rip, which is available here at Stahls for free on Ultra Color Max orders of $300 or more, which are going to eliminate the time it takes to cut your prints out of the carrier, right? From the big roll. And boom, even more savings on our time cost right there that you could pass those savings on to your customer. Now, step 5, we cannot forget add-ons. I've mentioned this in a few videos recently, but it's really where the real profit lives, in these upsells and add-ons. Now, if somebody orders tees, say, hey, do you need matching hoodies, hats, or maybe tote bags, right? I was just talking with a decorator who was working for a library, right? And they did t-shirts for an event and said, hey, how about some tote bags? And they were like, you know what, now that you mention it, yeah, great. Now we're going to use the same print on all of it, so there's no additional cost other than just the extra transfers, right? So it's a lot of profit back in your pocket. Now, if they are a business, right, you could maybe even suggest packaging, kitting, or individually bagging everything for resale. All of these added services are extra profit in your pocket without a lot of extra labor or any print costs, right? Now, one decorator I recently heard say they made 25% more revenue just by suggesting hats with every order. And I talked to a whole bunch of decorators who have a 360 IQ from Hottronics, right? And they're looking for ways to use it. Think about that. 25% more revenue without finding a new customer just by leveraging the piece of equipment that you already have? It's a win-win, right? Now I want to get to step 6 here, and this is going to be the last one, on creating a pricing system. This is the last and ultimate step, so don't skip it. This one is going to always provide you with an answer to what should I charge for this order. And it starts really with setting up your own pricing chart so you will never feel stuck or have to ask ever again. So what we're going to do is write down our average cost per blank plus transfer and ink, right? This is the average shirts that you're using all the time. And if you've been in business or even as a hobby printing shirts for a year or two, you're going to know which ones you're printing on most often. Now, I know these costs do vary from job to job, especially even when we talk about like those like high-end premium Columbia, Nike, Adidas, Carhartt gear, right? But averaging out the majority of your orders is going to help you simplify it here. And if anything, it's going to ensure that at least you are covering your costs and you're never going to lose money. There's a theme we have going in this video, right? So say, for example, we have a $4 blank tee and on average, $4 transfer, right? Now that's gonna make it $8 in our cost here. Now we're gonna add in $2 to $3 for labor. So now we're at $10 in direct costs on a single piece. Let's say we add just a ballpark 20% for our overhead. So now we're at about $12 for a single shirt, right? But we want to apply our profit margin. I want to ensure that I'm getting my fill of this order, right? And I'm making money. So say we're just going to add a modest 40% margin here. So that sells a single piece t-shirt at no less than $20 for leaving our shop, which is perfectly right on par with where the market's at right now, at least in the United States. If you live in a major market, LA, New York, you could probably even charge more than that. Now we're going to build a chart with some tiers, right? So say that 1 to 12 shirts is $20 each. The 13 to 48 shirts, maybe we're at $16 each, right? And 49 plus, maybe we're at $13 each or even lower, right? It's going to differ based on your exact scenario. But this keeps it consistent, professional, and takes a lot of the guesswork out here. So don't just take these simple example numbers at all, right? It's not going to do you or your brand any justice. Run some of the math we went over here with your own costs and your own scenario. Believe me, I went to school for art and design. Math is not my strong suit. And I could do it. I'm going to bet you could do it too, okay? Now with all of that covered, here's the absolute truth and the one takeaway you need to take from this video. Most customers don't choose based on the cheapest price. Sure, there are those customers always chasing the bottom line, but in many cases they're just asking that and they're going to choose based on trust, value, and professionalism. So when you present a quote, don't apologize for your pricing. Don't say, I know it's kind of high, but ... Instead, highlight your value with confidence. Well, we have fast turnaround, right? You could call me at any time, right? Pick up the phone. I'm here to answer any questions you might have. I'm very forward and transparent about communication and when your order is going to be done, right? Anything that takes you above and beyond. Maybe you're a local service. You'll offer that local delivery or drop off, or they could stop on in, or you go meet with them at a local coffee shop. Maybe you will help with artwork if they don't have a print-ready file, or you'll design it from the ground up from their idea, right? And maybe you have experience handling jobs like theirs, like that landscaping example, right? Maybe you know, hey, I know you want to go for the lowest, cheapest shirts, right? But I don't know if you experienced this summer. It was quite hot, right? How about we get some moisture wicking? How about we do some lighter colors? I know your color's that navy, but if we put your guys in even like a day glow green or like a light blue, they're going to be a lot cooler and a lot happier through the day. All of a sudden, you're solving problems with a conversation, building trust. You're not just selling t-shirts anymore, right? And this is going to help you overcome any of those, well, I want to pay the cheapest I absolutely can for this, right? Let's run one more scenario before we get out of here real quickly, right? Customer wants 24 tees, say, for a family reunion, right? So, blank tee cost is going to be $4 each. That puts us at $96 total for our garment cost. Now, our transfer cost on that too, say we're going to use some Goof Proof, maybe some Ultra Color Max DTF, or maybe even some Inktra, right? Let's say that $2 to $3 each range, so we could just say $50 total, just as a rough estimate here, right? Labor, right? So 30 minutes for 24 shirts is pretty good. $20 an hour is $10, right? So that is actually more than 1 minute per shirt, a generous estimate of time and accounting for any oopsies or troubleshooting that you might have to do on the job. And we'll add $10 of our overhead cost in there. So that puts our baseline cost at $166 or just under $7 per shirt. So when we add our margin in, let's say 50%, we're going to sell that one at $14 per shirt. So total of $360 total to your customer, and you're going to be making money for maybe an hour total of work for that job. That's including emailing back and forth or meeting with the customer, receiving and ordering and receiving the garments and the transfers, printing and boxing the job back up, okay? So some final tips before we wrap up here, just to kind of wrap up. Number one, please don't undercharge just because it's friends and family or you're looking to get somebody into the program, right? You could discount absolutely if you want, but be sure of it first and make sure that they know that it's discounted. Now, one way I've done this is when you send them an invoice at that discount, have the pricing that you would have charged on there, scratched out, and note the discount, right? So when they come back, they're not going to expect that same first-time customer discount or friends and family discount time after time after time, right? Now, the second tip, and this is one that I have went over so many times, get paid first. Always get the order paid in full or at least a 50% deposit up front on custom jobs. Now, I've had even some of my closest friends over the years never pay or call and say, yeah, I don't think we need those shirts anymore, as I was in the car driving on my way to deliver them. I ended up eating the costs on that, and I don't want you to eat the costs on that. You're not a bank. Don't loan your customers money. Get paid. Imagine asking an airline to pay for a ticket after you get off the plane. Get out of here. Have them pay up front. Make your money. Now, you also should build in rush fees for any last-minute requests or orders. Your time is valuable, and so is the jobs for other customers you might have going through your shop. And your customer is likely here in a bind. You're solving the issue for them. Charge accordingly. And of course, update pricing yearly, or in the uncertain economic times we're in, maybe even more frequent. Costs are going to change. Don't eat the difference. You could pass those on. So, know your true costs. Set a real profit margin for your business. Study your local market and what the pricing is, or where your customers will go other than you. Beat that service. You could offer tiered pricing for those bulk discounts, upsell, and offer add-ons with almost every single job, right? The worst your customer is going to say is no. Build a consistent system for pricing here, and present your services and price with confidence, and of course, get paid up front. Now, if you follow this process, you're never going to have to ask, how much should I charge for these shirts ever again? You're going to know. And you're going to know that you're running a profitable, sustainable business that's going to be here now and years from now. So here's my challenge for you. Build your pricing chart this week. Even if it's simple, next time someone asks for a quote, you're going to be ready to pull it up and fire back with confidence and clarity. Now, if you've got your own pricing strategies or lessons that you've learned the hard way, drop them down in the comments below. It'll help the whole community, and I'd love to help keep the conversation going. Now, be sure to like this video and subscribe to the Stahls TV YouTube page to stay up to date on all of the helpful tips, tricks, inspiration, and education that we're dropping every single week. But until next time, I'm Dave. Happy pricing.